Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom along Harada Sanosuke's route. And we have reached the point where Shinpachi and Harada here had split off from the Shinsengumi, and I went with them for my own protection, because everybody was eyeing me up for my demon blood. But I'm sure things are not finished here. We're not going to live a nice peaceful life like we want. We got to deal with our father, so we were planning on running away apparently. But hopefully that's not exactly what's going to happen, because if we run away by ourselves, obviously things are not going to work out well. So let's see where things head from here. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story.
Chizuru, you think you can get me some tea?
Oh, of course. I hurried to the kitchen and began to prepare Harada's tea. As I watched the water begin to boil, the image of Harada talking to the woman on the street filled my mind. Why was I feeling so depressed? I knew the answer, though I was reluctant to admit it. So this is what's going to force me to leave, the fact that it's pressing into me that I'm not human and I want him to have a happy life with another human woman. You shouldn't make that decision by yourself. Obviously, Harada doesn't care that you're a demon. Harada was a human, and I was a demon. Eventually, he would fall in love with a human woman and have children and enjoy life of peace and happiness among other humans. I'd caught a glimpse of that future when I'd seen him with that woman in the street, and it had hurt. Harada was a kind, thoughtful, honest man. There was no doubt that he had a wonderful future waiting for him. So long as he didn't get involved with me. It wasn't the pleasant truth, but there it was. I couldn't let him throw away that future for me. Yes, you could! If he wants to. With tea in hand, I walked back to the common room in Harada. Did I drug his tea? Here you go.
Oh, thanks. Sorry for the trouble.
Oh no, it was nothing. He took the cup from me, but instead of drinking it, he simply stared at it. Is something wrong? Did I make it too hot?
Oh no. No, it's not that. I was just thinking about how nice this is.
Oh. How nice what is?
Coming home to someone after going out drinking, and they've got a nice hot cup of tea waiting for you. I wonder if this is what it's like to be married.
The wistful tone in his voice made my chest hurt. Would Harada's wife serve him tea like this? That seemed to be what he dreamt of. And it wasn't fair of me to stand in his way.
What's wrong? You're spacing out. Did you get tired waiting for me?
No, I'm not tired at all. Oh, where's Nagakura?
He ran into an old buddy while we were out, and they went off to drink some more. I'd had enough sake for one night, so I figured I'd head home.
I see. Once again, the conversation ground to a halt. Harada took a sip of tea, then spoke quietly.
So, what are you worried about this time?
Huh? Worried?
Or are you really going to try to hide it? I can read you like a book. You'd make a terrible spy, you know. You've been pretty cheerful since we moved here, but every so often I catch you looking really unhappy.
Oh, so my secret was out. How could he guess what was on my mind so easily? And why did he treat me so kindly? Because he loves you.
What? You don't want to tell me? Oh, well, I guess I can't force it out of you if you don't think I'll be able to help.
No, that's not what I mean at all. It's just, I didn't want to tell him. Once I did, whatever happened, things would never go back to the way they were now. No more fun.
Did you fall in love with some other guy? Is that what this is? I don't want to hear anything about it.
No, that's not it. I couldn't bring myself to look into his eyes. I was thinking of leaving. Harada frowned.
Why? Did we do something that bothered you?
What? You shouldn't have done anything like that.
Is it pissing you off that we ditched our friends in the Shinsengumi, and now all we do is go out drinking every night?
No! It was my fault Harada had been forced to leave the Shinsengumi. How could I be mad at him for that?
Alright, let's say you leave, then what?
I didn't have an answer. There was really nowhere for me to go. I thought maybe I could go stay with a relative.
What relative? Yeah? Who?
He could see right through my feeble lies. If I didn't tell him the truth, he would never understand. There's something I have to do. I looked up at him, my eyes pleading. The man I'd once called my father was about to make a terrible mistake. I didn't know what I was going to do to stop him, only that I had to do something. Harada, however, had no reason to go, and I didn't want him to become embroiled in the dangerous affairs of demons. If he did, there were no guarantees he would make it out alive. An awkward silence fell across the room. Why didn't I just say that? Seconds ticked past, and finally Harada spoke.
Chizuru, are you really serious about leaving?
What was I going to say to him? You have to understand. I can't cause the two of you any more trouble.
Can you at least tell me what you think you have to do? I've got a pretty good idea, but I think you owe me an explanation.
True, we do. His tone had grown more serious. If I told him the truth, I was certain he would never let me be. Be that as it may, tell him the truth and then drug his tea or something. Then again, he wouldn't let me leave without giving him an answer either. Honesty was my only choice. It's my father. Harada's face said he'd expected me to say exactly that.
Right, of course. A girl like you couldn't just sit around while Kodo is off doing God knows what, could you? Still, that's one more reason I can't let you leave.
Oh, I like that angry, determined look. So many good looks. What do you mean?
Let's say you go. What exactly do you plan to do? What can you do? Sure, you heal a lot faster than I do, but that's about it. You can't carry a sword, and you don't have it in you to kill people. If you run off on your own to fight Kodo, you're just going to end up full of fury swords. There's no way in hell I'm going to let that happen.
It was clear Harada wouldn't change his mind anytime soon. What he said made sense, though. I couldn't fight humans, let alone furies or demons. Then again, Harada couldn't fight demons either, and if I stayed with him... Why don't you understand? I couldn't keep the frustration out of my voice. I don't want you to get involved. If someone's going to get hurt, it should be me, not you. I'm not even human. For a moment, I saw Inoi's corpse, killed by gunfire, and Yamazaki dying from the wounds he'd sustained at Toba Fushimi. The Shinsengumi had showed me just how fragile human lives were, and how easily they could die. At Toba Fushimi, it had been Inoue and Yamazaki. Tomorrow it could be Harada and Nagakura. Please, let me leave. Tears began to trickle down my cheeks. I'll do anything you want, just please let me go. Harada looked down at me and sighed.
Why are you so stubborn? Are you trying to say that I'm not strong enough to protect you? You're the only person who'd say that to someone who used to be a Shinsengumi captain.
No, I know how strong you are, it's just... I didn't want to destroy Harada's dream of a peaceful life. He was human. Someday he would have a life of peace and quiet. Why don't I say these things? There was no reason for him to become mired in the danger and death of my world, the world of demons.
I don't care what you say. I'm not letting you go. Cry and beg all you want. It won't change a thing.
His voice had grown hard. It was clear that so far as he was concerned, there was no more room for argument. Why couldn't he see I was doing it for him? There had to be something I could do, something that could make him understand. But what? Why don't you understand? You have a dream, don't you? That's why you have to let me go. I just want your dream to...
I think you're the one that doesn't understand. How can I just sit by and watch the woman I love go off to die?
I felt his powerful arms wrap themselves around my body. Surprise stifled my voice. Had he really just...
I know I'm not a demon. I'm just a human. But I still want to protect the woman I love, even if that means dying.
Harada held me tighter, so much so that I found it difficult to breathe. I tried in vain to push him away. Every moment I spent pressed to the welcoming warmth of his body took me further and further away from my conviction to leave. What do you mean? He looked down at me for a moment, surprised, then began to laugh.
Still haven't figured it out? You spend so much time thinking about other people, but sometimes you can't see what's right in front of you.
What are you saying?
I'm in love with you. Why else do you think I turned my back on my friends?
In my heart of hearts, I dreamt of this, but never had I thought that the dream might actually become reality. Why? Tears of joy began to race their way down my hot cheeks, and my arms curled against his chest, no longer trying to push him away. But I'm a demon. Even if I look human, I'm a monster. I don't belong with a human. Harada's rough hands gently stroked my back.
Says who? Look, I don't care if you're a demon or whatever. To me, you're just a woman. That's all I care about. And not only that, you're a woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. Or is it that you don't want me?
Each word out of Harada's mouth was one I never thought I'd hear, and with each one, I felt my heart swell. Can I? Can I want you? Can I be your wife and stay with you forever? At last, the feelings I'd held back for so long began to pour out.
I've known you for quite a while now, and I've never once heard you talk about what you want. If you keep hiding your true feelings like that, even from yourself, you're going to end up losing sight of what you want. So just say it. What is it you want to do with your life?
No one ever asked me that question before. And yet now, here he was, offering to make all my dreams come true. It's impossible. I wiped away the tears, but more took their place. When I looked up into his kind, gentle face, all my worries and fears and doubts just melted away. I want to be with you. I wasn't sad. Indeed, it was the happiest moment of my life, but tears poured down my cheeks until I wondered how I had any tears left. My face had to be red and puffy from all the crying, but I saw only tenderness in Harada's eyes.
Sorry it took me so long to say it. I'm not really good with words. I guess it was pretty selfish of me to just assume you'd realize it on your own.
Oh no, it's okay. After all, you did tell me. I smiled up at him, my eyes still red from crying, and he laid a large hand against my head. Years of gripping a spear's haft had left his hands calloused and rough, but still gentle.
There's nothing I can do right now about Kodo. I owe Shinpachi and the other people taking care of us right now. Once I can take care of the debt, we can see about your old man. Is that going to be okay with you?
I nodded.
I'll protect you no matter what, so just stick with me.
Yes. Sometime later, a friend of Nagakura's named Haga founded an organization called the Seihei Corps and made himself captain. Nagakura and Harada became lieutenants. Harada and Nagakura had found a path that was right for them, though they had been forced to leave their friends behind to find it. Chapter 7. April 1868. The Imperial Army continued its advance and eventually arrived in Edo. The city was under the protection of the shogun in a way Koto never had been. Its citizens trusted and respected Lord Yoshinobu. The atmosphere was tense on the streets. No one knew when a battle between the Imperial Army and the shogun's forces might suddenly erupt. However, on May 11th, after a discussion between a representative of the Satsuma domain and the shogun, it was decided that the Edo Castle would be surrendered to the Imperial Army. Those stubborn enough to have gone to battle rather than surrender had long before given up on Edo and moved north. Otherwise, the city would have likely been bathed in blood. There were likely still those who found the idea of surrendering a castle without a fight appalling, but I thought it was better than setting Edo alight with fires of war. On the day that Edo Castle was surrendered, the Seihei Corps was on its way to Aizu. Harada and I had been instructed to remain in Edo to gauge the situation, while Nagakura left with the main body of the troop. Even though the castle had only just been given up, the atmosphere in the town was dark and foreboding. It's so quiet. This doesn't feel like Edo at all.
Well, they're lucky there wasn't any fighting. If this had ended up like Tobu Fushimi, who knows how many people might have died. But didn't you say a while ago that it's really hard to actually take a castle by force?
Wait a minute. Was that supposed to be Harada's or my line? Because he didn't actually say this line. Oh well, I'll just leave it the way it was. I think that's still supposed to be me. Oh well, if that's the case, why did the shogunate give it up so easily? Harada stroked his chin and thought.
Well, Maybe that's why the Shinsengumi were sent to Kofu.
What? What does that have to do with anything?
I think the Shogun was planning to surrender Edo Castle from the get-go. A bunch of cooped-up samurai spoiling for a fight could have made that much more difficult. And one of the Shogun's guys, Katsu something, he really hates to fight. At least that's what Shinpachi told me.
But the Shinsengumi did so much for the shogunate. How could they just turn on them like that?
It doesn't matter what the Shinsengumi did. It just came down to whether or not these are times that call for men like the Shinsengumi. I mean, just look at the Choshu. They nearly got wiped out, but now they strut around like they own the place. Still, no point in being down about it, right? I don't know which side's gonna win this war, but part of me says it doesn't even matter. Things are still gonna be tough.
What do you mean?
Well, we've still got all these foreigners in the country. And compared to the armies they've got waiting out there, the Shogun and Imperial Army are nothing.
Yeah, so there's really no point in this infighting.
If they just leave Japan alone, then we'll be fine, but I don't really think that's gonna happen.
My heart sank at his words. I didn't understand the complicated politics of foreign affairs, but to think that even the end of the war wouldn't mean peace.
Don't give me that look. I'm sure we'll be able to find somewhere we can just live in peace and forget about all this fighting. So, as soon as the war's over, we're gonna find a home and live there happily ever after, right?
Right. A place far from war where we could live in peace. Did it really exist, or was it nothing more than a dream we would share for a few happy moments? Ah! I felt a hand wrap itself around my wrist, with a grip like iron.
You!
Shiranui.
I thought I spotted you, demon girl. I didn't think you'd still be in Edo.
His grip tightened, and it was all I could do to keep from crying out in pain.
Where's Kodo? Tell me or...
I don't know. I haven't seen him since Kofu.
Hey, you better let go of her, or I'll make sure you never grab anybody ever again.
Harada's stare was like fire, but Shiranui didn't even seem to notice him.
Are you telling the truth? You really have no idea?
Yes. I mean, no. I mean, I don't know. He threw my hand back against my chest with a snarl and turned to leave. That easily, huh? Wait! What happened to my father? Shiranui looked down at me with a sneer, then sighed and shrugged.
You know, Kazuma and I have been helping out the Satsuma and Choshu, right?
I nodded.
Well, I don't feel like I owe them anything anymore, so I told them where they could stick it. Apparently, they decided to get that old fart, Kodo, to take our place. With his brand new furies, of course. They're a disease that spreads from person to person like wildfire. Anybody who drinks the blood of a fury becomes one. They're planning to turn this whole country into furies.
No! I stumbled back a step, shocked. My chest was so tight I could barely breathe.
The furies get what's called bloodlust. To keep them alive, they need a lot of blood. Kodo was counting on there being a huge fight over Edo, which would give these furies perfect opportunity to get all the blood they wanted. Looks like there's still someone with brains in the shogunate, though. Obviously, Kodo's fight isn't happening. So, he's in trouble now. He needs to get a lot of blood for his furies, and fast. What does that mean? He's gone after the soldiers who went north?
Shiranui laughed, a cold, humorless sound.
Don't be an idiot. How long do you think it would take to catch them? No, he needs the blood now. And fortunately for him, there's plenty nearby. He could just come in and take it now, from the army that's run off to the north. I don't think it'll be long before Kodo's got more blood in his hands than he'll know what to do with.
Suddenly, my knees went weak. It was horribly awful to hear what Shiranui meant. Even Harada turned pale.
So, you're telling me Kodo isn't going to go to war to give him his blood? He's going to start one here, just to feed the furies. No, that's all wrong. Samurai should protect women and children, not slaughter them and drink their blood.
Shiranui simply shrugged.
I'm sure to them it's just a necessary sacrifice. Soldiers who can't die are worth a lot more than dead farmers. Even if they win here, it won't be over. England, France, Russia, There are hundreds of countries out there that'd be happy to swallow us whole.
Harada grabbed Shiranui by the front of his shirt.
Is that what you want? Is that what the Choshu wants? I thought you were fighting for something you believed in. For a new, better country. Now you're telling me you'll murder innocent women and children to create an army of monsters?
No, he said he abandoned them all because he didn't agree with their strategies.
Is that really what you've been fighting for all this time? Is that the new country you want?
Shiranui roared back, his voice even more furious than Harada's.
Of course not.
Harada blinked, momentarily stunned by his intensity.
Don't get the wrong idea. I could give less than a crap about humans and how many of them ever die. But I'm here because of a friend and what Kodo's trying to do. That's not the country he wanted. I don't need you to tell me that.
He finished with a snarl, then turned and began to walk away. Wait! I took a step toward him. This is the second time I told him to wait when he tried to walk away. Shiranui, what are you going to do now? He slowly turned to face me.
If you don't want to get killed by the furies, you should leave Edo now. But what are you going to do? Me? I'm staying. I don't like that old bastard, and I think it's about time I let him know how much. You're going to stop Kodo? But you're a demon. Why would you do that for a bunch of humans?
He's not doing it for the humans, he's doing it because he hates Kodo.
I thought you despised us. What?
He cut himself off mid-sentence and ground his teeth. When he spoke, his voice sounded as if he was holding back tears.
Though my life here may end, my spirit, and that for which I fought, will forever endure.
He spoke slowly and carefully, in the same way that someone might handle a delicate piece of pottery.
What's that? My friend's teacher wrote that just before he got his head chopped off. I never met him, but my friend was always repeating it. He would always say that, even if our body dies, your spirit lives on forever. But what's a spirit? Telling yourself that some part of you sticks around after you die is just a load of crap that humans tell themselves so they can feel less scared of their own deaths. But they have to believe all this stuff or they just lay down and die. That's why I can't understand humans.
When he turned to leave this time, I let him go in silence. His last words had sounded so sad. Did my father really intend to sacrifice the innocent people of Edo so that he could continue his horrible work with his furies? I didn't want to believe it, but Shiranui's face had shown grim surety and nothing else. For a long time, Harada and I simply stood and watched Shiranui disappear. Eventually, he spoke.
We should get back to Utsunomiya. Shinpachi's waiting for us.
Right. Even after we'd left Edo behind us, the frown didn't leave Harada's face. My own thoughts were a jumble. I'd been searching for my father a long time, and at last I knew where I could find him. On the other hand, Harada had an obligation to Nagakura to fight in a battle alongside the Aizu. If they parted ways now, Harada and Nagakura might never see one another again. I didn't want that to happen. Harada? It wouldn't be easy, but... Suddenly, his arm was around my shoulders, and he pulled me close. I tried to look up, to catch a glimpse of his face, but he seemed to be making an effort to keep it hidden.
Once we get to Utsunomiya, let's just give our report to Nagakura and head back to Edo. We can pay Kodo a visit.
But what about Nagakura?
He'll be fine. Besides, if I don't go back to Edo with you, I have a feeling you'll just try to do it on your own.
You know me so well.
Don't worry about Shinpachi. He'll understand. Sound good?
I wasn't sure what to say. It sounded almost as if his words were meant to convince himself, not me. Nagakura was his best friend, and they'd been together ever since they met in Shiei Hall. Eventually, we arrived at Utsunomiya and found our way to Nagakura.
Hey, there you are. Welcome to Utsunomiya. So, how was Edo? They were able to avoid open war, but the atmosphere in town is still tense. I see. Interesting.
Not really.
Well, I'm sure the Imperial Army is feeling pretty proud of themselves for capturing a castle without firing a shot, so they probably lowered their guard, am I right? This is the chance to catch them with their pants down. Oh, I can see the look on their faces now. Toba Fushimi was a long time ago. Now we've got French training and modern tactics.
He grinned and slapped Harada affectionately on the shoulder.
You guys are tired from that trip, right? I got you some rooms in here, so go ahead and take a rest. I'm not tired. Look, actually, I need to talk to you about something. Huh? Come on, that can wait, can't it? She's gotta be wasted by now. Right in here, Chizuru. I got you the cleanest room.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. Oh, okay, thank you. At Nagakura's insistence, we allowed ourselves to be shepherded inside the house. But we still need to talk! Later that night, Nagakura produced a bottle of sake with a great deal of flourish and significant looks.
Look at this, Sano. I splurged and got some really expensive stuff. And you know what? I'm such a nice guy that I'm not going to keep this wonderful sake out on myself. I'm going to share some with you. Look, Shinpachi, before we start drinking, I need to talk to you about... Whoa, whoa, whoa. What is this? Get some booze in you first. It'll help you calm down a bit.
He was in high spirits even more than usual, probably because this was his first time he'd seen Harada in a while.
Yeah, okay. Maybe you're right. Just a little bit.
Nagakura's good mood was infectious. Once he'd had a few cups of sake, Nagakura grew even more talkative than usual.
Hey, you remember that time we went to Yoshiwara back when we were still in the Shiei Hall?
When?
You know, the first time Kodo came with us. Whenever we went somewhere like that, the girls always went for you or Hijikata, right? 'Cause you girls, you're all about looks. Anyway, I guess Kodo wanted to get some attention or something. He started doing this... I don't even know what to call it, but he was sticking his fist in his mouth. What? Yeah, I remember that. Sure, got him some attention.
What exactly was he proving with that?
Damn right. Man, all those Oira were laughing their heads off at him. He sure didn't seem to care, though. He was just stoked they were having fun. I remember him blushing like a schoolboy. Well, I'm pretty sure he knew they were laughing at him. But he'd just grin and wave it off. That's the kind of guy he was. Yeah. Oh, you remember that time Soji found Hijikata's book of poetry?
Oh no! Hijikata has a book of poetry?
And all the poems were awful, so we were reading them out loud to each other and just passing out laughing when he walked in and caught us. Yeah, I remember. I think that's the only time I've seen a person's face do that.
The conversation moved on to other topics, but it seemed all Harada and Nagakura could talk about was their past together. Mostly they talked about their days in Shiei Hall, with Kondo, Hijikata, and Okita. It was hard to believe they had left the Shinsengumi on bad terms, when all they spoke of was how much fun they'd had. Eventually there was a lull, as Nagakura paused to refill his cup, and Harada spoke, his tone quiet and serious.
So, what happened? I know you, and you only drink like this when something bad happened.
I'd only seen Nagakura enjoying his sake, albeit to an extreme, but Harada had sensed something else was going on. Does he think he's going out to die? He grew quiet and toyed with his cup, watching the ripples shiver across the clear liquid.
I had a dream about Kondo last night. He was quiet, and he had his arms all folded, and he was giving me that stiff face. You know the one I'm talking about. Anyway, in the dream, I was telling him what was on my mind, like I usually do. And he just sits there all silent, and I can't tell if he's even hearing me or not. But once I'm finished, he just bows and says I'm sorry, and leaves. And when I woke up, I just got this feeling like I was never going to see him again. I mean, that's funny, isn't it? I'm the one who walked out on him. Why should I have a dream where he's saying sorry?
For a moment, Nagakura looked as though he was about to cry, but instead he downed his cup of sake and grinned. That was when I finally realized why Nagakura had been so excited to see us. Harada was the only person who he could have told the dream to, the only person who might have understood it.
Hey, Sano, you're the only one of the Shiei Hall guys I got left. Yeah, kinda tied to each other, aren't we? What's that supposed to mean? Anyway, What I'm saying is, we've come this far together, we ought to stay together until the end.
Oh, Tika! Oh, it was so serious, and then he just passed out. With a short grunt, Nagakura collapsed on the floor and began to snore. So much for that conversation.
He never knows when to stop drinking. The guy hasn't been a kid for a long time, but he still hasn't learned how to drink sake like an adult.
Despite his words, Harada's eyes were gentle as they regarded the sleeping form of his friend. He'd spent most of the night listening to Nagakura talk, but I had no doubt that there had been nights where things had been reversed, and Harada had done most of the talking.
I'm sorry to ask you to do this, Chizuru, but do you think you could help me get into bed? I'd rather just leave him out here in the hall, but he's gonna whine about it tomorrow if I do.
Oh, of course. Sure, I'll help you take into bed. With a good deal of effort, we finally managed to maneuver Nagakura out of the hall and into his bed.
Damn. I never did talk to him. He just kept interrupting me. Sorry about that. I'll talk to him tomorrow, I promise.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. He was right. Nagakura had barely let him get a word in edgewise, but I was sure a part of Harada didn't want to talk to Nagakura about leaving for Edo. He wanted to spend more time with his friend, however short that time may be. And even if he didn't realize it himself.
Man, Shinpachi. I would have loved to have some of that expensive sake, but you just couldn't keep your mouth shut, could you? After you told me that, there was no way I could get drunk.
What do you mean? Harada sighed and looked up at the ceiling. He stood that way for a while, before finally running a hand through his hair and turned to face me.
I had a dream about Kodo last night, too. I didn't get to talk to him, but he looked like he wanted to say something. Just seemed like kind of a creepy coincidence that we both had the same dream. You think it means something?
Oh god, that's so sad. I think you guys had a premonition.
If it does mean something, I got a feeling it's not something good.
I had nothing to say. Nagakura's reasons for leaving the Shinsengumi were his own, but Harada had left because of me. If he hadn't done that, if he'd stayed with the Shinsengumi and fought alongside them, then he wouldn't have found himself tortured by dreams about Kondo. Yeah, but he might be dying alongside him instead. If only Sanan had just left me alone. If only I had been a little stronger. If only I had been a normal human woman. Well, then you wouldn't be here at all in the first place. Alright, well, I gotta end that video here because I'm going on too long on this one too. I hate to end it there because it's just in the middle of nothing, but... And I felt like I wanted some kind of conclusiveness to the situation here, with coming back and talking to Shinpachi, but no, he had to ruin it by getting all drunk and passing out before we could address the situation. Shame on you, Shinpachi. Alright, well, join me for the next episode. It seems kind of like we might be getting close to the end with Harada here. And, I don't know, I gotta look some other walkthroughs up because it looks, according to this one walkthrough, there only seems to be one path, so does each guy only have one ending? There's no different endings with the same guys? I don't know, I gotta investigate more. Whatever the case, I hope to see you in my next video or in some of my other ones, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.